welcome to another Mechbay tutorial. Today I'd like to talk about or show you guys how to make windows for your diorama. But before I start the process, I'd just like to talk about a little bit more about the different ways that you can go about in doing windows for your diorama. And one of the items that you could use is those pre-made windows already, kind of like this one right here. This one is actually a windows, a 1/12 scale windows for kind of like those doll houses that you see at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. They have a section for doll houses, and they have this pre-made windows there available. And a lot of the dio makers that I know also use this sometimes on their diorama. And so for those people who don't have a lot of time building windows from scratch, then they usually go for this one. Of course, when you use this, then you're tied into the size of this. So if you have something more, if you have a die that requires a different size, then of course obviously you won't be able to use this. But for quick uses and that looks good, this is one way of doing it. Okay, so again, this is windows for 1/12 scale doll houses, and they are available at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. And I've seen some of this on eBay too, so if you don't have any of those stores near you, you could also go on eBay and check out this stuff. Okay, and then in terms of like process, also people have their different techniques on doing their windows. And so for me, I'm doing the way that I kind of like well, I didn't invent it, but like I guess I end up kind of like doing it this way because it works for me, and so what I have here, for example, is this is actually a currently a diode that I'm working on, and it so happened that I have a window that I'm gonna be making, and so decided to make a tutorial. And as you can see, I already have the design for my window, or the size for the window that I gonna be making. And the first thing that I did is I basically made the shape that I wanted. And as you can see, I have like a couple of lines in here. It's almost like a frame. I created this frame. And basically what I'm going to be doing is when I cut this, I'm going to cut this twice. So I'm going to cut the inside square that I made, and I'm also going to cut the outside square that I made. And when I pop them out, I'm gonna have two pieces basically. So this square right here, which will be no use for me. So once I cut that out, I'll put that in my scrap pile. But this outer piece right here will be the frame for my window that I'll be using. Okay, so the way I cut my window is I usually use this metal straight edge ruler, and this one right here, this box cutter right here. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go cut the outer part first. you know, you just have to do it like small increments, you know, the depth, so that you don't mess up your foam, because if you go deep right away, then you might end up having you know, you might mess up the edge. So basically just do that process, you know, until you're done. All right, so I finished going around my window, and so I'm gonna go back and use my finer blade to go over the whole lines again, just to make sure that I have everything cut all the way through, so that when I slide them out, it'll be easier for me to slide out. Okay, so what you need to do is basically just go back and kind of like manually, I don't know if you can see it from the light, but you basically have to go all the way through. Okay, and once we're done, we'll continue. Alright, so I just finished going through and doing my fine cuts along the edges, and so now I'm ready to separate this. Okay, so you kind of see what I'm talking about when I said that I'm gonna have this kind of like frame right here as my the piece that I'm gonna be using. Okay, so I'm gonna remove this, so you can kind of see right there. There we go. That's my cut right there. Don't worry about those rough edges, because you could go back in there and you can sand it. And this is the one that I'm gonna be using right here for my frame. Just a little bit more. There you go. So basically what I'm gonna be doing is, you know, push this a little bit more, then I'm gonna glue that, and there you go. As you can see, I already have my frame right there. All right, I'm actually gonna be, you know, doing some trimming in here, because I'm gonna be using that part to put my my grids later on. But you know, just to have an idea, that's what it looks like. Okay, some people, you know, like I said, they, instead of doing it this way, they actually you know, after they just do one cut like this, and then they actually use balsa wood to line the inner edge of this, and then they build their windows from there. Okay, so there's, you know, there's different ways for you to do it, and in some cases, you know, you may not even need the frame. You know, you can just have your window like this, and you know, build it the way it is like that. It just depends on the level of detail that you want to put in your windows. But like I said, for me, this is my process, and you know, my next step in here is usually I use this type of material, which is coffee stirrers, and I actually go from the back and then I line them up. You know, I design them up like that. You know, this is basically what the back looks like, but this will be inside. I mean, I'll show it to you once I start working on this one right here. But for now, this is what my window is gonna look like, kind of like that. But just imagine that those are gonna be in the back, kind of like that. And then I'm gonna be putting maybe another one right here and another one going across at the bottom. And then I'm gonna use some plastic from my action figures to make into my windows, the glass window. All right, so I'll show it to you once I'm in that phase. So here's our completed window. You know, after doing my trims, you know, doing some cleanup work around, you know, sanding and stuff, then I was able to get it to line up the way I want it. And I basically glued the entire foam frame to the diorama, basically right here, so it's permanent. All right, and then again, this coffee stirrers, I basically attach them from behind, so as you can see right here. So again, I said that I trimmed that frame that I cut from here, right? So I did that so that I'll have that space or room at the back, so that I'll be able to glue my grids, window grids in there. And it's pretty sturdy, you know, because without this, then you know, without that frame, when you go like in the front, you'll be able to see that connection from the bottom, you know. So that's one of the main use of that frame. I mean, for me, the way I do it is because it hides the connection points for where those grids are. All right, you know, the other thing I'm gonna be doing here is I'll be using this right here. This is actually I think I mentioned it earlier. It's the blister, those clamshell from action figures, the plastic. So I basically just cut it to the size of my window right here. And what I usually do is I just, you know, put that in the back, you kind of see, and just glue it from the sides, and you know, that should be done. Yes, if you go back. So, you know, normally, you know, if you just want like a clear window like that, that's fine, you'll be done once you glue it. But other times you'll want to make it look like old or broken. So then, you know, what you do is you basically just use some acrylic paint and you water them down. I normally use the colors white, gray, like a lighter shade of gray, and even brown or medium brown. Just dilute them like to like a watery consistency before painting, because you don't want it to be like, you know, thick, because when you paint it, if it's thick, then you're not gonna be able to see like the light coming through from behind. So if you're gonna stain it, you know, with acrylics, make sure that you water it down and you apply it. And yeah, you know, you could basically just apply maybe towards, you know, the corners, just to get that kind of like, you know, old type feel. Or again, you know, you could apply it to the whole you know, plastic. All right, but yes, but basically that's it. So yeah, I'm gonna go back after I'm done. I'm actually gonna be staining this for mine, because I want the old or distressed look. So that's what I'll be doing. So yeah, you know, after I'm done, I'll give you a quick look at what it looks like. Okay, so here's my completed window, fully painted already. So yeah, you know, you could kind of see where my frame is right here. I painted it kind of like rusted brown. And again, if you look right here, it's actually indented on the inside. So you could kind of have like a separation from the front lip of the window, and that just gives you the additional detail to make it look, you know, more like a window actually. I just love that look. And again, I already told you about those grids that I made. I basically just glued them from the back of this frame that I made. And right now you can't, if I turn this over, you won't be able to see where this grids are glued on, because I already have this kind of like window material that I already glued on top of it. But just a quick review of how I did this. I mentioned last time that this material is the those plastic clamshell material that I just basically cut to the size of my window. And then what I did is I stained it again with just some acrylic paints. But you know, I made it so that if I put a light at the back of these, that I'll still be able to get that glow. So for display purposes of your display purposes, then that's a pretty good option to have. Unless you really want to have a totally blacked out window, then staining it like kind of like this is the perfect way to go. All right, and if I turn this over, you'll see that I basically just glue this on top of my grids at the back, basically hot gluing it on all the corners. Again, that frame that I made, you know, was able to hide that. Otherwise, you'll be able to see those glue if I don't have this frame. All right, again, this frame is made from foam, and you know, this is how I do my windows. Again, you have other options if you wanna do it with balsa wood or sticks, popsicle sticks as your edge and stuff. But for me, this one works. So yeah, you know, if you have any question, you know, just leave me a message here in YouTube, or you can email me at my mechbay918@gmail.com email, and I'd be happy to answer any additional questions that you guys might have. Again, this is just a general type, you know, window, you know, way of doing it. And I hope that I was able to give you guys an idea on how to do it. And I'm pretty sure you guys will be able to find your own way or techniques as you move forward in making your own diorama windows. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time on my future tutorial videos.